Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're watching. Tiffany, Dragonflyer Studios here. Glad to have you all with me today. This is episode 3 of How to Make a Junk Journal. We started from just a simple VHS box, and here we are. We have a cover, and we have 2 signatures sewn in. All of our papers have been trimmed down. Some of them have been accented. Please watch the other 2 videos, catch up where we're at, and today we are going to make some embellishments that are going to go in here. I plan to cover these little guys. These I call them corner tucks. I guess they could be pockets. For it to be a pocket, it kind of needs to have like 3 sides with a little thing that you can stuff into. So I call these corner tucks. These are just 2 that I had laying around. I have a tendency to make up a bunch of these ahead of time. Usually I just use some scrap paper, things that I've been doodling on or whatnot. I do have my glue book. I've discussed this, so here, I'll just cover this real quick. So this was a dictionary that apparently from Deerfield School that I took the cover off of, and I have created a journal out of it. It's pretty large. The papers are very thin. They're, I would say, very close to like what Bible paper would feel like. So sometimes I'll use these. This is the side that I rip off of and use if I want, to use that thinner paper. You can't really necessarily see through it, but sometimes there's some interesting little images or whatnot. So the other side I use as my glue station. So I keep the glue and stuff off of my cutting mat down here. I've ruined one of these, actually a couple of them in the past. You get too much glue buildup. Doesn't want to come off, especially the silicone glue that I use sometimes. So what I'll do is I'm going to flip this over. This is actually 2 pages glued together, so we'll pretend that's not there. So I'll put this stuff down, and I'll glue, and the glue gets around the edges or whatnot. And so I've glued and I've glued and I've glued and I've stamped and I've inked. As you can tell, I've inked on here. It just kind of keeps my surface a little cleaner for cutting and detail work and stuff like that. So once this gets too glued on and too inked on, it tends to have a bit of a texture. This one is getting there. The other side of this, the page that's in between, I don't think I can separate them because I've glued them together too well. There we go. So as you can tell, there's 2 pages there that are glued together. So once this gets too caked with glue or whatnot, I'll glue around the edge, give me a big X across the part. I'll tear it off, and then I'll flip it over and I glue it to the page underneath, and then I'll glue some more. So this one's almost getting to the point where it's got too much on it, and then what I'll do is I'll use that as scraps. I'll cut it into things. I've turned some of these into tags, little pockets and things of that nature. And the gluing of the pages together gives it a little more durability. As far as like if I was to use it for this, you want this to be a little bit thicker. This is actually 2 pages of paper that I've glued together, because the text block that I work with as far as scrap pages for text and things, the more books you disassemble, the more text blocks. I call this a text block. It's just all the signatures that come out of the book. The more of these you'll get, and they have a tendency to build up. So if you don't find a way to use them, you may want to pass them along to your friends if you've got crafty friends. But otherwise, be prepared to have a backstock of text that you can use. So this is what I was talking about. This is I think it's a law journal, a law book or something. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about the statutes of frauds and perjuries, if anybody wants to know. Now this book was, I don't know when it was published. It has long since gone by the wayside. It was one of my first journals that I used to make. As a matter of fact, it is being turned into, so the cover of this book is being turned into this guy. I call him Mr. Sunshine. I am working on him. He will be for sale at some point in time. But for right now, we have our Green Eggs and Ham journal that's going on, made from a VHS book. So these are the signature pages that came out of Mr. Sunshine's original cover. For those of you who don't know, you can disassemble a book, and then you have all of this glorious paper that can be used for things. Don't let the fact that there's print on here deter you from drawing on it or painting on it or whatever. The text that's there just adds to the to the junkiness of our journals. So I've just ripped apart some signatures here. As you can tell, they're folded in half, very much like the signatures are in the books that we do. So I'm just going to sort through here and find myself some pages. What I'm looking for is something maybe not so much with a lot of text on it, so that I can add my own embellishments or my own paint. Now I will use some of these ones with text on it for pockets. See, like this little guy right here, that is what I'm looking for. For this particular project, I'm looking for stuff without a whole lot of text on it. I will show you what a couple of them look like being turned into ones with text on it. So usually the ends of chapters and whatnot are the ones where the text stops. Nope. I hope everybody's enjoying these videos. I'm having a whole lot of fun making them. I've been paper crafting and journaling and whatnot pretty much my entire life. I used to make homemade paper decorations when I was a kid, and that has just followed me into adulthood. But if you're just starting, please don't be intimidated. Anybody can do this. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Anybody can do this. All you need is some glue, really, and I'll show you what kind of glue I use. You don't have to use them, but I have over the years figured out what does and doesn't work real well. Oops. Having a hard time tearing this paper. You can use a ruler. I'm just winging it, because these are things that I make up ahead of time. I have some little drawers over here, here, I'll show you, like this little guy here. I keep bits and pieces. These are some puzzle pieces that I have prepped that I'm going to turn into ephemera later. These are just some stuff that I was playing around with my Sizzix cutter, and I created that. Who knows what I'll use those for, but I have them just in case creativity strikes. And then I also have these guys, and I'll show you how to make some of this stuff. This is some faux rice paper. These are faux rice paper cards they're made, turned into tags. Just some leftover manila envelopes with some of that rice paper left over that I turned into tags. So yeah, you know, if you don't feel like working in your journal, you know, make you some things and play around with it. You'll build you up a backstock of stuff, and then it's super easy when you do sit down to go and actually do something. It's all right there ready for you to go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this one's already been separated. I'm just going to pull one of these pages off. Oh look, there's one that's blank. Okay, I'm going to stick these over here in my drawer, get them out of the way. Because if you're like me, you get busy crafting, and the next thing you know, your whole table is covered with stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take him and set him aside real quick, because we don't need him for this project in particular. So these have been sewn. Those are real stitches from a sewing machine. You can sew if you have a sewing machine and you're into that, then by all means. The little zigzag stitch or a straight stitch is a cute way to add a little bit of detail. You can use different colored threads and things of that nature. The ones I'm going to make today, I'm going to do a no-sew version of it. So that way, if you are just getting started, you don't have to rush out and buy a whole lot of stuff. Find yourself an old book, a VHS or a cereal box. You could do the same thing that I did with the VHS box, cutting off the 3 sides. If that was a cereal box, you can cut it down to whatever size you want it to be. You don't have to have a whole lot of expensive materials. Now, the one investment that I would suggest a newcomer make would be your adhesives. These will determine whether or not your final project stays together, falls apart, you know, the quality of the finished item. I started off with this guy right here, Elmer's glue stick. He does the job. However, long term, this ends up separating pages, especially if they're not sewn together around the edges, so keep that in mind. The upgrade from this that I have found is this guy. He's a Scotch Create glue stick. It's multi-purpose. It is permanent and photo safe. Whatever glue you end up using, photo safe is the way to go. What it's not going to do is yellow any images, anything you print off, or anything like that over time. The glue won't yellow it now. Daylight, sun, all of that will yellow things. That's just the natural aging process. But the materials or the chemicals in your glue stick won't age whatever it is that you're doing. I don't know that this will keep things from aging, but this will. My other adhesive that I use, you'll see me use this a lot, especially in building the cover and the spines and stuff. It is this stuff right here, Fabrifix Permanent Fabric Adhesive. It is silicone based. It won't cause your paper to warp like this stuff will. If you are using a liquid white wet glue, expect your papers to ripple and warp. We've all been there. We've glued things together and you get that rippling effect. As it dries, it does have a tendency to flatten itself back out, but not always back to the way that it was before you glued it. This stuff will work attaching fabric to fabric, fabric to paper, and paper to paper. It's really good stuff. It is expensive. Use it sparingly. I found a tip on another YouTube site. She put her Fabrifix into these piping bottles. It's for icing. They're nice and flexible and soft on the sides. This guy, I found that once you squeeze it, an air bubble will form and you'll have glue bubbling out of the top of this thing and you're wasting your very expensive glue. So this is like, I want to say like 24 or 25 bucks on Amazon. It's 8 fluid ounces. I just transferred into this piping bottle. It doesn't waste as much. And then I just took a stainless steel hat pin and I just keep it down in the hole so that the hole doesn't get clogged. And then I just pull it out, use it, stick it back in there. Easy peasy, ready to go. Some other things that you'll see me use is I use this tacky glue, and again it's a white wet glue. I use it sparingly, but it does get tacky pretty quickly and will hold small things in place relatively easy. So those are the 3 things that you'll see me to use the most of. Every once in a while I'll use one of these, little glue runner. It is permanent. Once this touches 2 things, pulling it apart is well, it can be a little scary. So yeah, there's the things that you'll see me use. Today we'll be using my Scotch Create. As a matter of fact, this guy's almost gone. This thing lasts a lot longer than I really thought it would. It's pretty good size, but I'm almost out of it. I can see the blue coming up through the top. So I'll probably have to get out another one of those, maybe in this session, maybe not. Okay. Since I'm creating tucks and pockets for this guy in particular, I'm going to keep in mind that my pages are only 3 3/4 inches wide. So when I go like this guy here, I wouldn't be able to put him on a page this way. I'd have to put him on a page this way. And even that, look, if I open this guy up, even that would be pushing it. Because what you don't want to do is put things too close to all of your spines. That's going to bulk up your spine and it's going to make your book start to bulge this way rather than this way. So when I add things to my pages, I try to stay about 1/4 inch away. Now some things you just want to tuck them in there and you tuck till your heart's desire. But if you do it with every page, you're really going to build up your spine and it's going to cause a problem further down the road. So I just try to stay about 1/4 inch away. Actually, that's super cute. I actually wouldn't mind that hanging over the edge like that. I might actually use that in here. So yeah. But that's what that would look like as a bottom tuck. So you could put it here. There's also a thing called a top tuck here, so you can stuff things in this way. We're gonna pretend this is a card. This is an image I clipped out of a book. So this would be glued here and here, and then you just stuff that up in there, and it'll hold it in place. And then you can go all 4 corners. It doesn't matter. There are side tucks where you just attach it along the side, and then you can stuff things in this way. I will do some of those. So my general rule is what I do in one signature, I will do in another signature, so that all my embellishments aren't here, and then he's all chunky monkey, and then this one's all skinny mini. So if I do it in one, I'll do it in the other. All right, let's get started. Enough about me talking. So usually when I get to creating, I will get a little bit quiet. I will try and tell you what I'm doing. If you have any questions, because you don't know what's going on, please feel free to leave me a comment. I try very, very hard to answer all those comments, and I will do my best to answer yours. So let's get crafting, shall we? Okay, so I'm gonna start by. This is really all I do. I just take one page, and this one's going to be blank. I am going to leave the pink edge right where it's at, and I just fold it in half. Bone folder. And then this is where you'll see me use my glue. I'm going to call it a glue station. So I'm just going to put that down, roll out some glue, find my crease, and you want to make sure that you hit the edges of these really well. And then since I'm going to be cutting it, you want to make sure that you cover the whole surface so that you really get a laminated effect when you fold this guy over. So then you just fold it to crease, and I start in the middle to the top and then out to the sides. You will see me use the highly effective finger tools, the finger smooshing. It is very technical, very advanced. Thinking about getting a degree in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold some of these pages and get them all glued, and then we'll go back and we'll cut them. So you may hear the term come up if you're just getting started, mass making. That's what this is. I am mass making some items. Not all of these will get used in our Green Eggs and Ham journal. Some of these will get used in future journals. Some of them may go into Mr. Sunshine that I showed you. But I try, when I make these, I usually try and do a batch of them just so I have them ready at my fingertips. Okay. Oh, quiz questions. Let's use that. That might be fun. I try, depending on what book you're using, I did have a ladies' home journal that I was using pages out of, and unbeknownst to me, there were some adult topics. If there's any children watching, I don't want to say exactly what it was, but there were some adult topics that were being discussed in one of the articles that I had cut out a piece of, not really paying attention to the text words that were on the page. And unbeknownst to me, I laminated that conversation into a journal. Upon a flip through, I quickly realized what was going on, and I'm just checking to see, like, I know there's glue buildup over there, so I'm going to keep this over here. I put an embellishment over a few choice words. So, depending on what you're using, keep in mind that it might just look like a bunch of words on a page, but it was written for a purpose. So, this one's going to say part 3 at some point in time. Okay. We are getting somewhere. The reality of consent. Oh yeah, see, that's probably not something that I want anybody to read, so we're just going to cover that up. If you don't have a bone folder, what you can do is get a craft stick, like this little guy here. He does the same thing. All that does is really creases that paper and flattens down the fibers. If you're going to turn it into something else, even with the signatures, if you watch this where I sew the signatures in, that's episode 2, you'll see me use the bone folder to really crease those pages. It knocks down some of the bulk of the paper that you're working with. But you don't have to go and purchase this. I don't even know where I got that. Probably at a yard sale, craft store somewhere. Probably not a craft store. Very little of my stuff comes from a craft store. I do a lot of yard sales, a lot of estate sales, things of that nature. People give me a lot of stuff they know I craft. So yeah, if you don't have one of these, bone folder, and all it's made out of is resin and or plastic, a simple craft stick from the dollar store will do the same thing. If you're just getting started, don't feel the need to rush out. I'm going to do it this way. Consideration. Okay. Yeah, don't feel the need to rush out and buy a whole lot of expensive stuff. You know, you can do this with just about anything, especially junk mail that comes. Save those envelopes, the ones with the windows. I'm going to show you a trick to use junk mail envelopes. No need to go buy brand new envelopes when perfectly good reusable envelopes come to your mail almost every day for free. Stamps, if people do send you actual mail, legality of subject matter, Law of Contracts. I'm telling you, this book. I picked this book up solely because of the cover that it had. Not because I really wanted my pages to be all about legal jargon. Alright, last one. I am going to do this whole series in real time. Now, I may pause the video when I'm doing things that are super repetitious. I don't want to waste your time. Sometimes, you know, everybody has a life to lead, and kids and work and school and you name it. So sometimes you really just want to be like, okay, how did you do that? Just get to the point where you did that. So I'll show you the first time, and then if it's a super repetitious thing, I may pause and skip ahead. But I won't do anything sped up. I want you to be able to follow along with these as I go. Okay, so now, keeping in mind that our journal, our Green Eggs and Ham journal, the pages are only 3 3/4 of an inch wide. So what I want to do is I want to keep my pockets about 3.5 inches. That way I get the most use out of my pockets and tucks, and I'm not too close to the spine to add too much bulk. So my goal is I'm going to put 2 pockets in each signature, two glue-in pockets, and I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 tucks per signature. So that means I need a total of 4 pockets and 6 tucks out of at least what I'm making today. So if I'm just going from corner of text or side of text to side of text, that gives me 4 inches to work with, and I really only need about 3.5. So that will work perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line my ruler up here, and I'm going to tear these off. And I don't throw away any of my scraps until I'm really actually done for the day, because I never know what I'm going to use those for. I may come back and punch some holes in some stuff, or do you need a piece of something to fix, you know, if I get a rip or a tear or something like that. So if you can keep from it, my suggestion is just to hang on to those scraps until you're all done. If you're absolutely compelled to throw them away as you go, hey, you do you. I am not here to judge anyone. So now what I want to do, at least with this part, if I was just mass making these, I would probably just leave that the size that it is, but because my pages are only 7 inches tall, I want to get an idea of what that's going to look like if I left it the full height. That's a very deep pocket for such a short page. So I'm probably going to say right in here somewhere around that line, and probably make my pocket about that deep. Okay. So the great thing about using pages with text on it is you can really use the lines of the text rather than having to measure. Okay, so now I'm going to get out. If you don't have what I'm about to use, don't stress out. Don't you worry. This is just a 1-inch hole circle punch, and you could just take it and center it right about there, and then you've got a little finger hole for pulling things out. Now, if you don't have that little punch, don't worry about it. Just use a pair of scissors, cut yourself a V. You do not have to have a circle punch. So we're going to set this one over here, because I know that one's definitely going to go into my book. All right, what I wanted to do was some plain ones. So since I know this edge is straight and this one's all wonky, I'm just going to line it up here on the grid on my cutting board. And I'm going to come over here, line my ruler up with the dots. The dots on this mat are 1/4 of an inch apart. And then I'm just going to rip that off of there. And I did throw that one away. That's a scrap I know I won't use. So now what I want to do is I'm going to measure 3.5 inches over from this side to here, to the corner, because I really want that part 3 to show. And I'm just going to go from that corner to this corner here, grab my cutting knife, and I'm going to cut me a tuck. Now, because it's old paper, if you notice, that edge kind of rolled on me. It's got a little damage. It's a junk journal. It's just paper. That part right there, not going to let it bother me. Once you get it glued in, it's going to add character. It's just going to add to it. So don't stress if something like that happens. So yeah, So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back and I'm going to create myself another pocket. Also using, now I'm just using that one pocket as a template. I'm just going to come back here, cut down through. I probably need to change the blade on my X-Acto knife because this is just 2 pieces of paper. It really should cut right through it, no harm. So save that for later use. Now I have 1, 2 corner tucks that can be turned in any direction. No, they can't. It is longer on one side than it is on the bottom, because remember, this to here is 3.5 inches. That would stick out over my page where I need it to be. And I mean, that might be okay. That might be what I end up doing. So I've got 2 plain tucks. Now I'm going to create 2 with text on it, just for a little variety. That will work marvelously. This one will specifically be used as an upper corner tuck so that the words can stay upright. There's 4. I said I needed 6 of these at least. Oh no, quiz questions. Oh, I don't want to cut the questions up though. Oh well. Okay, so here's another situation where I've got to trim off this back edge because it's a little rough. Just going to use the lines on my mat. Okay. Yeah, no matter what I do, I'm going to lose the questions because 3.5 is going to be there. So, oh well, it is what it is. I am going to use this, though, as another pocket rather than a tuck. So we're just going to measure over 3.5. 3.5. Line it up. Tear it off. Alright, and then since I know I don't want my pockets quite so deep, we're going to go right about there. And then I'll show you what I mean. So if I didn't have my little circle punch, no big deal. I'm just going to line this up on my mat. And then I'm going to use my ruler to get my lines straight. Actually, you know what? No. Let's keep it simple, shall we? You're just going to come in here with scissors and you're just going to do a V. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just paper. There you go. So, I now have one with a circle and I have one with a V. Okay? And this one's just a little bit deeper than that one. And that's okay. Variety is what's going to make your junk journals unique and special to you, and keep your creativity fresh. The thing I've learned, I think that's one of the reasons why I love making junk journals so much, is I've never created the same thing twice. I've tried to duplicate some things, some techniques, but it's always a different piece of paper. It's always a different shade, a different color. There's always something different about it, and that's just the fun part. there's number 5. Now, oh, here we go. Those pink edges are fun. I didn't do that. That's the natural aging of the book. The original color of the cover of the book was red, a dark red. I think it was faux leather. So I have these 2 extra left over. I'm just going to set those aside, and I will turn them into some tucks and some envelopes for my stash a little later. So now, this is our prototypes. This is what we're going for, what we're aiming for. Now this is some paper that I was spritzing on and doing some test stamps and stuff. I had gotten some new stamps. I just wanted to see what they looked like. And that's what we have. So I don't really have I guess what you would say is a theme for my Green Eggs and Ham journal. But so we're just gonna make it fun and funky. I think what the colors I'm gonna stick to are kind of what's on the cover. So we got some reds and blues and yellows and pinks and dark greens, and some dark blues, and yeah, there's no color. I love that you can see the VHS box through my faux rice paper. I did do a tutorial on how to make the faux rice paper. Look through my videos, and it is in there if you want to learn how to do that. Okay, one thing I'm really bad about is not covering up my glue stick. So I gotta remind myself to do that. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna pull out some different color inks. You can just use black if black is all you have, or red is all you have. Just go with what you have. These I bought as a set. I think I found them on Amazon. I'm not sure. All the stamps that you see me use, they have been found or handed down or whatnot. So how are we doing on time? Okay, I try to keep these about 45 minutes long. I try not to go too much longer than that because, like I said, I know we're all busy people. So yeah, so we're just going to push these aside real quick, and we're just going to get started. So what I do is when I'm stamping, I either use my book block, or I've got, whoops, not that one. I've got a little piece of scratch paper. It's just a piece of notebook paper that I'll put down and I'll stamp on so that I can go right to the edges of some of this stuff and not worry about getting a bunch of ink on my cutting mat. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to start off with red. Ooh, very, very red. And I've got this little gothic looking embellishment, fleur-de-lis looking thing. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp. Okay. And we're going to start right in the middle. And there we go. We're off and running. So now I have a little red. I think it's red. Oh, nope, that's pink. I want red. I want red to match my ink. Maybe I want red. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, and you don't have to be a super fancy artist. I'm just going to draw on some stitching, a little edge pattern here, just to give it a little character, something a little extra. Okay, then you have that. Cover up my little ink pad. Alright, so now this is something that I use if you're looking for different materials to invest in. These things that I use, my Distress Oxides, they are by Ranger. I found some of these at Hobby Lobby. I have picked up a few of these used. careful buying them used, because this little guy will dry out pretty quick if not taken care of. You can try to bring it back to life by spraying it with water. Doesn't always work. My suggestion is to buy these new. They are fabulous. They also sell these at Hobby Lobby, online or whatnot. They're these little foam applicators. They're attached by Velcro. One gets destroyed, you can just rip it off and add a new one. But I have used this, well, for months now, and there's no sign of stopping. So if you're going to invest in something and feel the need to get some supplies, I use Espresso. There's also one called Vintage Photo and Walnut Stain. They all have a brown color to them. So yeah, you just, I do it this way. Make sure that when you store them, though, that you store them flat. You're going to want to put them on their side. I at one point in time stored them on the side. What happens is this is an ink and a pigment. The one or the other of them will separate from the pad. If you store it on its side, gravity will take over and it'll pull it out, and it will ruin it. Keeping it flat is really the best option. So then what I do is I just come in here, and this just ages the paper a little more. I do this to pretty much everything that I put into my junk journals. I like the way that it looks. If you don't like the way that it looks, then don't do it. But this is just a little tip, a little trick that you can do. Adds a little bit of character to some of your stuff. You can do it as much or as little as you want. And then there's that one. We have a nice little tuck that we can add to our book. That's going to hold, things like journal cards and postcards and pictures and little artworks, whatever it is that you want to put, or whatever it is the person who buys my journals wants to use. That's why I put these in there. So there's that one. And then just make sure that you cover this up. And then I just lay my little dauber on its side, because the minute that you touch it down to something, it's going to ink. You don't have to put much pressure on it for it to leave a mark. So I just let it sit on its side, and then when I store it, I store it over to the side. Okay, I'm going to set this guy aside. I have little handy wipes. I do clean my stamps off when I'm done. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't have to, the ink will dry. That's them. This is what I do. It's how I take care of my stuff. So, you do what you feel is necessary. Alright, so we've got this little leafy pattern here. I think might look fun in multiples all over this one. So I've got a little teal color here that apparently at some point in time I have mixed with purple. Did not realize I did that. That's also a reason why I clean my stamps when I'm done, so that bleeding and cross-contamination of that nature doesn't happen. So we're just going to ink up the stamp, and then we're going to come in here, and I'm going to be a little willy-nilly with this one. I'm going to stamp it, ink it, 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 and whoop, stamp it, stamp it. Okay, there we go. I'm going to set this one aside. This ink takes a little while to dry, and I can see the shininess of it. So, but isn't that a cool looking pattern? Almost looks like it was printed that way. So yeah, I'm going to set that one aside, let it dry for a little bit, and we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to use dark blue for my next one, and we will oh, this is a good one. So this just says Adventure. I inked it up really well, and then I'm just going to come in here and kind of go like that. Ta-da! Okay, set that stamp aside. And then my word is still wet, so I'm going to be mindful of that. But then I'm going to come in here with my dauber and just age up the edges of this. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm So glad to be doing this, and having people watch and enjoy and maybe learn some new things is great. So there, I'm just going to leave that one just like that. I think it's nice and simple. May do some embellishments once it's actually in the book, around on the envelope, but otherwise I'm going to call that one done, and I'm moving on. My fingers are getting brown and inky, just the way I like them. Okay, so we are going to do, what are we going to do with this one? How about we add some washi tape to this? I have quite the collection of washi tape. Now, mind you, I'm showing you stuff that you may not already have. Please do not feel the need to run out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. You can do this with most of the basic simple things. If you want to buy a couple rolls of washi tape, that's fine. It's addictive, just like most other craft supplies. So I'm just going to rip that off right there. And I'm going to add this. Look, it's got a little bicycle on it. How cute is that? Sorry, had to pause it there. I do have a 12-year-old son, and he needed mom. So I'm just going to take my tape and I'm just going to tuck it back around behind it, because this side's going to be glued down. So who's going to know? I mean, really, who's going to know? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue ink pad, and you can do this with any ink pad, and I'm just going to ink up the edges of this so that they're not all brown, but this adds just a little. It also adds a little definition. So, you know, if I was to put this on a page that was aged in color, or already had some text on it, this adds a little character, a little definition to the pocket, so it stands out from its background. Okay, there we go. There's that one. And I like the washi tape, but if you can tell, it kind of blends in with the text. It doesn't stand out. So what I'm going to do is, I've got these little stickers that I found. I don't even know where. Oh, look. It has a bicycle on it. Oh, look. We could actually put that. Oh, we could put it right over it. I think that's super cute. Yep. We're doing it. We're doing it. Okay. So some people will take these little stickers and they'll just put glue on the sticker backing and glue the whole sticker down. I don't do that, because eventually this sticker is going to work its way off of this plastic coated backing, and then you have the potential to lose the sticker. So if you want to make sure your sticker is super glued, haha, pun intended, I'm going to put glue down where I want this main part of the sticker to go, with the sticky backing showing, and then I'm going to attach it. That way I'm almost guaranteed that that sticker is not going to fall off of there. Oh, that's super cute. I really like that. Okay, and there's that pocket. Okay, so as with any craft project, you're going to get your fingers dirty. It's the nature of the beast. So this ink is now dry. I'm going to come back, and yes, I'm going to age up this one's, and then we're going to put in some embellishments on it. Kind of just going to be a fancy tuck. Fancy. And then, oh, we are nearing our 45-minute mark. Okay, I want to actually get some of these attached into the journal. Show you how that's done. Okay, so there's that. Looking very sophisticated. I like it very much. So then, what if we come back with some of these guys? Let's see, what one would look good on there? Do we want to go dark blue? Light blue? Nope, white fades into the background too much. I really like the dark blue one. Yep, I like the dark blue one. So we're just going to add a little dark blue flower. Those I found at a yard sale. They were in an envelope, scooped up the whole, actually I think they were in a baggie. So this is where your silicone glue is going to come in handy. And I'll try to do this so that you can see that the little tiny hole that is in the tip of that piping bottle. I'm just going to squeeze out. It doesn't take a whole lot, but I am going to attach the petals so that they don't get ripped off. in the future. And I'm just going to put this little guy in the corner. His name is not Baby, so he can go in the corner. And I'm just going to make sure that he's very well tacked down. He does have a little gold bead in his center, which I thought was super cute. You just want to keep in mind that when attaching embellishments like this, everything you add adds just a little bit of thickness to your book. So if I were to add 20 flowers to 20 different pages, that little thickness right there would eventually add up. I don't know what 20 flowers would look like, but we're not going to find out. So, alright, and there's that little tuck. So we've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, and this may be all that ends up in the journal. I may add more. I don't know. That's a personal choice between you and the book that you're creating. But I'm going to show you how to add these for right now. And if you want to add more, by all means you can. It is your journal. Definitely go and be creative with it. So, alright, so I'm just going to pick a page here that I think might look good with a little pocket on it. I'm gonna start with this adventure pocket, and not everything has to go all the way at the bottom. You could totally put this in the middle, wherever it is that you want to go. I'm gonna leave some space at the bottom. I'm gonna put this guy right here, okay? And I'm just gonna center it in the page because it is 3.5 inches, so I've got about 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch on that side. So I'm going to grab my silicone glue. This is where the piping bottle really comes in handy because it puts out the tiniest bead of glue. And I'm just going to do it in that U shape, making sure to smush it out to my corners so that they don't get damaged in the wear and tear. I'm going to put it about 1/2 inch or so from the bottom of the page. And then the Fabrifix glue that I'm using takes a couple of seconds to grab, but then once it grabs and holds, if I was to decide I wanted this in a different spot, it's going to damage the page underneath. It really does. It does its job and does its job well. So there's that one glued in. Okay. So then that's on that half of this signature. On the other half of this signature, I'm going to find a place for my tuck. Oh, on the ledger page. Let's see, do I want to use this one or this one? Ooh, I like the red. The red gives a nice contrast, I think. Okay, so I'm going to put this tuck like this, staying away from the spine as much as I can, and I'm actually going to go about the same distance from the bottom. Can you see that? Yeah, about the same distance from the bottom, because I have plans. I have big plans for the ephemera that I'm going to tuck into this guy. So again, just a tiny bead of glue, and I just pay special attention to my little corners, because what I don't want is, you know, as you're flipping through back and forth in a journal, looking at all the things that there are to look at, corners tend to get the most wear and tear. So I just pay special attention to the corners, so that they stay tacked down and your junk journal doesn't start to become actual junk. I just hold it in place for a couple seconds, and then it's pretty well in there. So how this will work is, say this is a journaling card or photograph or something, you just tuck it right in there and then it'll stay. There we go. Okay, so I put a pocket and a tuck in the first signature. Now I'm going to come to the second signature, and the first half I'm just going to find a page that I think will fare well. Ooh, how about right here? Oh, this guy. This guy looks like he belongs with the orchestra, doesn't he? The Philadelphia Orchestra. It's a page out of an encyclopedia. Okay, so tiny bead of glue. Missed a corner. There we go. Smush it out to the corners. Okay. And then I'm just going to come out here as close to the edge of the paper as I can get. About the same distance from the bottom. hold that in place for a couple seconds. A little longer than 45 minutes, but you know, that's okay. Feel free to fast forward and rewind and do all the things you need to do until you're comfortable with what you're learning. Okay, so that was in the first half of that signature. So now the back half of this signature, we're going to add, oh, that one has a pocket on that side. Oh, I think this would look good. Okay, so now here, do I want to do it there? Sometimes deciding where you want your pockets to be can be a little frustrating. Oh, I think that actually looks pretty good right there. So yeah, I'm going to put it right there. And not every page has to have a pocket or a tuck on it. I am going to show you some other things as we continue to decorate these pages. Down the line, there are other ways to embellish pages just to give them a little character. Depending on what you're going for, whether you want to give the user more writing space or more artistic space, you may use more art paper when creating your journal. I have a tendency to lean towards a little bit of both, and we'll add things to the journal that can be removed, written in, drawn in, and then added back to it. And I will show you all how to make those too, the removables. Is what I call them. I think that's what most people refer to them as, is removable ephemera. Alright, so there we have it. So, first half of signature 1, we have this beauty. Second half of signature 1, we have this beauty. First half of signature 2, we have this gorgeous little fella. And second half of signature 2, we have this guy. So there you go. So that's how to do tucks and pockets for your junk journals using text blocks, no sewing needed. All you need is a marker or two and some creativity. You can draw on these. They don't have to be stamped on. You can draw, you can cut things out of newspapers or magazines, images and things like that. I may show you how to do some of that on some of the other items that we're going to use. You can print things off. Printables are definitely a thing that people use these days. So yeah, don't be intimidated by your lack of supplies. There are things out there. You know, go through your closets or your attics or something. Old books. There are a plethora of old books out there. And use what you can find rather than what you can buy. Don't spend a lot of money unless you just really want to, and then, you know, by all means, the sky's the limit for you. But otherwise, this has been episode 3 of how to make a junk journal. There are more episodes coming until this guy is completely done, and then he will be up for sale. I do not have an Etsy shop. I sell from Facebook, but it's my Facebook page is Dragonflyer Studios. Please look us up. Give me a follow, give me a like, give me a share. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see future episodes come along. Make sure your notifications are on for when they post. I try very hard to do videos 3 times a week. Sometimes life gets in the way. I do have a kid and I work full time, so bear with me, but the videos will come. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad all of you are here. Bye.